Hello everybody, may we start? Okay, so me and Annamaria made experience in this semester, or this semester. And the aim of our project is to facilitate the acquisition of grammar gender in Italian and Russian languages. So in Italian, there are two genders, masculine and feminine. And in Russian, there are three genders, masculine, feminine, and neuter. We would like to demonstrate how to apply the inductive method in learning a foreign language. First of all, I would like to say that deduction is the most common way to learn a language grammar when teacher explains the rule to the students, illustrated with any examples, and then on the basis of this rule, they build the sentences. This is also the easiest and fastest way, actually. But we have noticed that the majority of students who successfully passed the topic, the subject, are able to remember the rule, but they have problems with its application in speaking production. So in contrast to deduction, induction means introduce into something, and this is analytical method, while deduction is synthetic. So in which students are invited by the teacher to observe, analyze some morphologies, as in our case, of the language, and then try to find the rule by themselves. So by thinking, comparing, asking questions, finding the answers, students develop the sense of the language. They learn to understand the logic of it and begin to feel it as the native speaker and as the native speaker does. Now feel the language. So now I would like to show you how to apply, how I applied this method in learning genders on lessons of Russian. First of all, I should say that the assimilation by foreigners of the grammatical category of the genders in Russian language is the basis of further understanding of the case system, adjectives, possessive pronouns, past tense. That's why it's very important to understand and consolidate this topic. The gender category in languages is individual. For example, in Turkish, there is no genders at all. There is he, she, it, everything sounds O. And to understand about whom or what people tell is possible only by context. There are only few languages in which there is division into three genders, masculine, feminine, and neuter, and one of them is Russian. So the first acquaintance with the category of genders takes place on the example of the use the personal pronouns on, he, она, she, его, his, and ее, her. So in this case, when my students meet these personal pronouns, the generative forms semantically reflect by the differences of man and woman. This one, on, она, he and she. When we are learning the names of people and we are using the personal pronouns of them. Specifically for my students, it was not difficult because they know already the English equivalents of he and she, his and her. And before giving students the opportunity to determine the gender independently in the Russian language, I just explained that all nouns in Russian language are divided into three groups. That's all. And after that, the students studied the table. This table, in my opinion, perfectly demonstrates that at this stage of introducing the gender category, how to determine the gender of nouns. And it's clear from here that not only people, but also objects have a gender, and the pronouns on, ana, he, and she are also applicable to objects. As for neuter gender, the third column, my students study in the column where you can see an egg, conclude that the neuter gender, ano, is something average when it's not clear if it's masculine or feminine, and actually it's not far from reality. After that, I ask the question, what do you think, can a person be neuter or no? And answer is obvious, no, it cannot, of course. So the table also explains very clearly that masculine words and consonant letter, feminine words ends in letter R, and the neuter gender ends in letter O. After that, after students compose a rule about Russian genders by themselves, they can easily to do next exercise because it's connected with the previous table. This one. They put the words into 3 baskets, dividing the list of the words in 3 genders, on, ana, ano. And after that, we play ball, listening different words and determining the correct gender orally. And on this top, I can give the new words, I mean unknown words for the students. And here they can understand that they easily determine the gender of any Russian nouns, if even they don't know them. So in Russian language, there is very strict rule on the definition of genders, and table demonstrated it very clearly. And there is no need to memorize the gender of which word separately. Reading the table, logically thinking, and composing the rule by themselves, students understand that not everything is so complicated in Russian, and this is undoubtedly motivates them for further learning. Thank you. Annamaria will continue now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm so excited. Sorry. Grazie, Zelia. I didn't notice that I didn't open this. So I will repeat. It was just, okay, sorry for that. When it comes to building a solid Italian grammar foundation, gender and number, singular and plural, are 2 very important concepts one must learn. Unfortunately, they are also very troublesome for beginner students and even more for Turkish learners. Um, the idea of changing something in the way I was teaching this topic slowly evolved into my mind in the past years. At the end of each semester, I was noticing that students uh, they could they could understand the rule and they could make correctly exercise regarding this topic, but when they couldn't produce it orally. And most of time Turkish learners, they were using masculine form. Yes, why? In Italian, nouns and adjectives can be either masculine or feminine. Usually the gender of the noun can be identified by the ending. For example, if the noun ends in o, it's generally masculine. If it ending in e. This table summarizes Italian grammar gender, and this is what always is shown in the most of Italian language textbook. So it's masculine, feminine, and singular and plural. But actually, I didn't want to show from the beginning this. This is what I was teaching in the previous years. I was teaching like that by showing this table. But we conducted in our classes this project by inductive approach, as Anastasia was mentioned before. So starting with examples and asking learners to find the rules. The project was based on giving inputs to learners in order to make them thinking and be aware of the rule. A process from stimulating inputs to intakes. Intake as the part of an input that stays in the stores of long-term memory. By paraphrasing Professor Michael Sherwood Smith from University of Edinburgh, I divided this learning process into 3 steps, in which I gave very simple inputs to students to make them eliciting and building the grammar rule by themselves. Step 1. Step 1 is this. It's very simple. I wrote on the whiteboard, names of person, very popular in Italy: Anna, Marco, Giulia, Alessandro, Veronica, Giorgio. First, I asked students whether they ever heard about those names. Secondly, if they could tell me what was the first difference they noticed. Noticing as a waking awareness on students. This is very important. Most of the students were able to answer correctly by saying that names for women were ending in "ne" and for men in "no." So already they could categorizing them. In step 2, in the following lesson, I wrote on the board la pasta, il vino, la birra, il gelato, la scuola, la casa, il tavolo. So they are very common nouns that I was sure students could recognize and understand. But as you can notice, I wrote these nouns with their equivalent definite articles. So la, il. Once again, I asked the students to tell me what they were noticing. First of all, they noticed that a noun in Italian ends always with a vowel, which was already a big success. Secondly, they noticed that the last letter of the nouns were always A or O. So I asked them about the name of the person we had seen in the previous lesson. And they said, yes, they remember. They said, yes, Veronica, Anne, and Julia were used for women. So they're female, feminine. And Marco, Giorgio, Alessandro for men. So it's for male, masculine. So they could easily state that the use of last letter A was used for feminine and O for masculine. So they were discovering and explaining at the same time the most important rule in Italian grammar: gender difference. it's very important also to say now that in the Italian, in the most of the Italian textbooks, the new vocabulary is never introduced with an equivalent definite articles. In my opinion, this is a big gap and this is a big issue because, you know, when you speak in Italian and you use nouns, of course you have to put articles, otherwise it's not a correct Italian. So that the idea of putting articles already in my second session, it was a very, very good, how can I say, strategy to already to demonstrate that there are also articles. So the Turkish learner, it gets used to the fact that there are articles together with nouns. In the step three, as I can show now, in the step three, it was about this exception, this group of nouns that their ending is in E. And so, as I say, they can be either masculine or feminine. So, as you can notice, I again put article, definite article, before these nouns: la chiave, il mare, la stazione, il dolce, il cane, la lezione. By putting the article, this was also one of the most successful step in this process, you know, to recognize, okay, the ending of a noun, but also with the help of the article. So, and students, even while speaking. So this was my aim. Speaking actually is the most important production for a language. So I haven't used particular resource for carrying on this project, only experiments in class with students and exchanging information with Anastasia. Moreover, I have to say that there is not much written about acquisition of Italian grammar gender for Turkish learners. What I want to just share with you is an interesting article written by Professor John Truscott and Michael Sherwood Smith. Is about input, intake, and consciousness. It was published in Studies of Second Language Acquisition in December 2011. And this is a very important, it's about inductive method and how to give inputs and intake and the awareness of the students. Now, we would like to show a video that we were recording during after these 3 sessions with the students. We recorded a video with Anastasia. We put together our students, some of our students, and they were exchanging information about grammar gender, both from Russian language and Italian language. Now Anastasia can show this part of the video we recorded. Thank you. Anastasia? I don't know if sorry, Anastasia.
I'm trying to share. I don't know if you can see or not that because I'm.
We cannot. Yeah, we cannot see. Can you share application screen? Share application
I'm
screen.
doing like that. I'm doing like that.
I know,
Application.
I know. Of course, we are used to it, but sometimes, technical problem can happen. Why? Well, it is interesting because what we would like to show in this, it's not a very long video. Actually, we cut it so much. It's just because after 3 sessions that we were working with our students, they were able, without knowing, with their friends from another class, like Italian students and Russian students, they were able to exchange this information. And it was really nice, and they enjoyed that moment. So that's why we wanted to share with you, but technical. Anastasia?
I don't know. It doesn't let me to share that video.
I I can try. Let me see. Uh,
My screen, it doesn't let me. I don't know why this video file. And as Annamaria told, that we group of Italian students and group of Russian students, they exchange information about genders of their learning language. And then Italian students were working on me, and they determine gender very easily without any problems, showing cards for masculine, feminine, and neuter. And then Annamaria was working with my students about Italian genders, and it also was very effective. And sorry that we didn't.
Thank you for having us today here. I think, okay.
Thank you, Funda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Funda, so much. Thank you, Juan, for listening. Thank you. Thank you, Juan. Okay. Bye. Thank you. Bye. Bye.